The rolling hills of the Czech countryside are dotted with ancient castles and fortresses, each with its own place in history. Among them is a structure that stands out not for its beauty or strategic importance, but for something far more unusual and unsettling. This is Houska Castle, a 13th century Gothic fortress located about 47 kilometers north of Prague. Unlike most castles of its era, Houska was not built to defend a town, guard a trade route, or house a royal family. It wasn't built near water, on fertile land, or along any strategic border. In fact, the location of Houska Castle makes little sense from a practical perspective. Its most peculiar feature, though, is not its geography, but the legend that surrounds it. For centuries, locals and visitors alike have whispered that Houska Castle was built to seal off a gateway to hell itself. The origins of Houska Castle. Before diving into the darker stories of Houska, it's essential to understand its historical background. The castle was built during the reign of Ottokar II of Bohemia, a powerful and ambitious monarch. His reign was marked by military conquests and territorial expansions, and Houska Castle was one of the many fortifications erected during this period. However, unlike other castles that were built with military defense in mind, Houska's placement and construction raised questions from the very beginning. The castle is far removed from any significant trade route or water source, and its location, surrounded by dense forests and rocky terrain, seems almost deliberately isolated. The architectural design of Houska adds to the strangeness. Though it was a Gothic structure meant to withstand sieges, it was built with inward-facing defenses. Its windows are small and fortified, not designed to keep invaders out, but to contain something within. This is where the legend of Houska Castle takes root. The mysterious pit. Long before the castle was built, the site on which it stands was a place of fear and superstition. Local legends speak of a gaping hole in the ground, an abyss that seemed to have no bottom. This pit, according to the stories, emitted strange sounds and foul odors, and those who ventured too close often spoke of hearing the flapping of wings and the agonized screams of those below. Animals avoided the area, and birds, it was said, refused to fly over it. Locals believed that this hole was a gateway to the underworld, a literal passageway to hell from which demons and other creatures would occasionally emerge to torment the living. In the 13th century, when King Ottokar II's men began the construction of Houska Castle, their primary goal wasn't to build a royal residence or a fortress. Instead, it is said they intended to seal off this unnatural chasm. The castle was constructed directly above the pit, with the central chapel situated over the opening itself, serving as a kind of spiritual seal. In essence, Houska Castle was not built to keep people out, but to keep something in. The first sacrifice. One of the most disturbing tales surrounding the construction of Houska involves a series of human experiments. According to legend, before the castle was completed, the builders wanted to test the nature of the pit. They offered a local prisoner, sentenced to death, a choice. Instead of being executed, he could be lowered into the hole by a rope and report back what he saw. The prisoner accepted, and the men slowly lowered him into the pit. He descended for a long time, but after only a few minutes, the rope began to jerk violently. Terrified screams echoed from the hole, and the builders quickly pulled the prisoner back up. When he emerged, the man was no longer recognizable. His hair had turned white, his face was aged by decades, and he was muttering incoherently about horrifying visions. He died shortly afterward, and whatever he saw down in that pit remains a mystery. This story is often dismissed by skeptics as mere folklore, a local legend meant to explain the eerie atmosphere surrounding Houska. However, the tale has persisted for centuries, passed down through generations, lending a weight of historical memory to the unsettling reputation of the castle. Strange events over the centuries. Over the years, Houska Castle has been the site of numerous bizarre occurrences. Those who lived within its walls often reported strange noises emanating from the floors, walls, and especially from the area near the chapel. Some claimed to hear the sound of clawing and scratching, as if something beneath the castle was trying to get out. Others reported sightings of dark, shadowy figures, often described as vaguely human but with grotesque, distorted features. These apparitions were said to appear at night, wandering the halls and disappearing into the stone walls. In medieval times, many believed that demons from the pit had made their way into the castle, and that the structure itself was cursed. A string of misfortunes seemed to follow those who attempted to reside within its walls. Lords who held the castle were often struck by sudden illness or madness, and strange accidents were common. Many owners abandoned Houska after only a short time, adding to its reputation as a cursed and haunted place. The Nazi occupation. One of the most intriguing chapters in the history of Houska Castle came during World War II, when the Nazis took control of the fortress. The Nazis, particularly those in the upper echelons of the SS, were notoriously interested in the occult, and it is believed that they chose Houska specifically because of its dark history. What exactly the Nazis were doing at Houska remains a mystery, but it is known that they used the castle as a base of operations. Some historians speculate that they may have been conducting experiments related to the supernatural or occult, perhaps trying to harness the supposed power of the pit beneath the castle. Locals reported strange activity during the war years, including the transportation of unknown equipment to and from the castle, as well as heightened security measures that made it impossible for civilians to approach the area. After the war, several Nazi documents relating to occult practices were discovered, though none directly referenced Houska. However, rumors persist that prisoners were taken to the castle and subjected to experiments involving the pit, much like the medieval prisoner who had been lowered into its depths centuries earlier. Some have even suggested that the Nazis were attempting to summon or communicate with entities from the other side. When the Nazis were finally driven out, they left little trace of what they had been doing at Houska, but the castle's dark reputation only grew. The idea that the Nazis had used the site for their occult experiments reinforced the belief that Houska was a place of evil, a gateway to something beyond human understanding. Paranormal investigations. In the years following World War II, Houska Castle became a popular site for paranormal investigators and thrill-seekers, drawn by the stories of demons, ghosts, and the gate to hell. Modern paranormal researchers have visited the castle numerous times, often with sophisticated equipment designed to detect unusual activity. Many of these investigations have produced strange results. Some investigators have reported drastic temperature drops within the castle, particularly in the chapel. Others have recorded electronic voice phenomena, EVPs, with strange sounds and disembodied voices captured on tape. One of the most common claims is that of an overwhelming sense of dread that seems to wash over visitors as they approach the central part of the castle, especially near the chapel, where the pit is said to be located. People have described feeling as though they were being watched by something unseen, and some have even reported physical sensations like being touched or pushed by an invisible force. Skeptics argue that these experiences could be explained by the power of suggestion, the mind playing tricks on itself in a place that already has such a notorious reputation. However, the sheer number of reports and their consistency over the years makes it difficult to dismiss all of these claims as mere hallucinations or overactive imaginations. The unexplained death of paranormal investigators. One particularly chilling incident occurred in the 1980s when a group of paranormal investigators set out to explore Houska Castle. According to reports, the group, consisting of 2 men and 1 woman, was well prepared and had made several visits to supposedly haunted locations throughout Europe. However, this investigation would turn out to be their last. The group arrived at Houska on a particularly stormy evening. According to witnesses, they spent several hours in the castle, primarily around the chapel. At some point during the night, the woman in the group fled from the castle in a panic, screaming that they had unleashed something. She refused to return, and her 2 male companions were never seen alive again. Their bodies were discovered the following morning, near the edge of the forest that surrounds the castle. Autopsy reports were inconclusive, with no signs of physical trauma. However, the expressions on their faces were described as ones of utter terror. This incident only added to the castle's reputation as a place of death and darkness. Whether the deaths were the result of paranormal activity or some other cause remains a mystery. But for those who believe in the legends surrounding Houska, it was proof that something truly malevolent resided within the castle walls. Modern-day Houska. Today, Houska Castle stands as a tourist attraction, but its eerie atmosphere has not diminished. Many visitors come seeking a thrill, hoping to catch a glimpse of something otherworldly. The chapel remains the focal point of the castle, and those who enter often describe an almost oppressive atmosphere, a feeling that they are not alone. Despite its dark reputation, Houska is a fascinating historical site. The architecture of the castle, combined with the stories and legends that surround it, make it one of the most unusual fortresses in Europe. Whether or not one believes in the supernatural, there is no denying that Houska Castle has a unique and unsettling presence. It is a place where history and folklore intertwine, where the boundaries between reality and myth seem to blur. Conclusion. Houska Castle remains one of the most mysterious and unsettling places in Europe. From its inexplicable location to the legends of a bottomless pit and a gateway to hell, the castle has captured the imaginations of countless people over the centuries. Whether it truly houses a portal to another world, or whether the stories surrounding it are simply products of overactive imaginations, one thing is clear: Houska Castle is a place unlike any other. Its history is rich with strange events, and it continues to be a source of fascination for those who seek to uncover the truth behind the legends. Thank you for spending time with us through Spookscope today. Feel free to share your knowledge and wisdom in the comment section below. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and share it with your friends and family. Until next time, my dear spooker, stay curious